Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Ford today, guys. We're continuing the lineup prediction series today as we head out to Western Canada, specifically British Columbia, at your Vancouver Canucks. I know this video is probably going to be a highly contested video as you guys are very passionate there in Vancouver. So, let me know your guys' lines for the Canucks going into the season, because I think there is a lot of debate about who could jump into the top six in a particular spot. The defensive pairings are pretty much set, but let me know what you guys think down below. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, make sure to give that thing a thumbs up and a subscribe on your way in. So let's get right into the forward lines for the Canucks. So your first line, I think, is pretty much set in stone. I don't think there's going to be much debate about this, other than the fact at the timing of this video, Elias Pettersson has not signed a contract. But we're going to assume he's going to be in the lineup. You got Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, and JT Miller as your first line. I think that was really what Travis Green was going with, for the most part last season, again, when everybody was healthy. So I expect that to continue this year. The second line, pretty solid as well. I think there's one spot that's in particular going to be up for debate as the season continue, as we get into training camp and everything. You got the captain, Beau, Horvath, and Connor Garland. But then who goes on that left side alongside Horvath and Garland? I'm going with the Russian. I'm going with Vasily Podkolzin. A lot of hype, a lot of expectations for Podkolzin coming into North America. So we're going to see some of him, and I think it may not even be opening night, but they are definitely going to put Podkolzin in that top six at some point. They're going to try that out. I think that's a pretty solid top six. Again, a potential Calder Trophy favorite in Podkolzin. Your captain, Beau Horvath, who seems very, very much, I think he's disappointed with what happened last year, and he seems very much like that guy that's been training in the training throughout the summer and kind of just, letting it all loose and just a little bit of like drool coming out of him and just ready to go. That's going to be Beau Horvath this season. I'm really expecting good stuff from him. In that bottom six, though, again, pretty solid stuff in your bottom six as well. You got Tanner Pearson, Jason Dickinson, and Niels Höglander. And I wouldn't be surprised if Travis Green potentially put all three of those guys in that spot where Podkolzin is right now. I just think there's a lot of flexibility there. We saw Höglander in the top six last year. We saw Pearson in the top six last year. I think Jason Dickinson came to Vancouver with the thought that he may be in that top six. So there's going to be a lot of competition there for that spot. So we'll wait and see what happens. But again, as of right now, I like Podkolzin in the top six, and then that third line is pretty solid as well. Fourth line is definitely a little bit of a different tone. I went with the more Travis Green, checking fourth line. And they lost a couple of those guys this summer. I mean, again, Louis Eriksson isn't really that type of player, but Louis Eriksson, what's his name, Jay Beagle, Antoine Roussel, they're all gone. Again, their salary cap had a lot to do with that. But it's a different fourth line, a younger fourth line, actually, which I think benefits the Canucks. I think it allows for some of the younger guys to step in that can also play that type of game for a lot cheaper. You have Zach McEwen, Tyler Mott, and then Brandon Sutter centering that fourth line. I do like that fourth line for the most part, but there's going to be some competition there for that fourth line, throughout the center spot, the winger spots, and I'm going to go over those guys here. You got guys like Matthew Highmore, who you got in the 1-for-1 for Gaudette at the trade deadline last year with the Blackhawks. Justin Dowling, again, another Dallas Stars player coming in. Phil DiGiuseppe spent some time with the Rangers last season, probably going to be in Abbotsford this season. Justin Bailey, again, another guy probably in Abbotsford, but he's probably thinking to himself in training camp, I could make the roster, right? He had a couple of really good stints with that team last year in Utica when they were still there. And you also have Nick Batan coming over from the Toronto Maple Leafs, who may be a guy that maybe beats out a guy like Höglander or Podkolzin in the lineup. Again, I'm expecting this to be the lineup the rookies get in, but it's not guaranteed. They have to earn their spots there, and I think a guy like Nick Batan could be a guy to watch out for, maybe stealing one of those spots. So there's your forward lines. I think they did a pretty good job this summer, adding guys like Garland, adding guys like Dickinson, obviously internal additions like Podkolzin. I think it's really, I like this lineup. Again, the key is Horvath was out with injury last season. Pedersen was out with injury last season. Miller was out. I think when those guys are healthy and on their game, this is going to be a team that's not going to be easy to play against. But again, they need to stay healthy. Again, it's an 82-game schedule. It's been 2 years since we've seen this type of schedule. So can the Canucks, handle that workload? Looking at your defense, I like their defense, but again, there are some questions on the blue line as well. You got Quinn Hughes, who again we expect to sign by some point by the end of before opening night. You also have Tyler Myers. I think Hughes and Myers is a pretty good top pair. Again, Myers is getting older. I don't know if he's the best top pairing defenseman for a team that in the Canucks that has high expectations, but again, they're going to be in the conversation. Second pairing, very interesting. You've got Travis Hamonic and Oliver Ekman Larson coming over from the Oats, part of that deal with Connor Garland. So a very interesting situation there. Ekman Larson, I really liked him in Arizona. I know he's kind of tailed off recently, which is a little bit of a concern. And I'm sure the haters of the Canucks will go out there and say he's not any good. But again, we got to see what happens. Let them play on the ice first. And then the third pairing, you got Jack Rathbone and Tucker Pullman, which I think Jack Rathbone, again, he had some injury issues last season. He was in and out of the lineup when he was healthy. And Tucker Pullman, I think Canucks fans really like Tucker Pullman, but I'm still on the fence about him. I just don't know how good he truly is. I think he's best suited as a third pairing defenseman. If they try to put him in the top four, that's where I do have some concerns. And I think they already have enough issues. On that right side, I mean, Myers, Hamonic, and Pullman. I mean, again, I don't know how confident I'd be in that. I think they're one of those teams where they have a lot of defensemen. They have a lot of depth, and we're going to go over that in a second. But how many of those guys are legit top two pairing defensemen? Not top pairing defensemen, but like first and second pairing defensemen. Probably Hughes, and you could argue Ekman Larson is probably a second pairing defenseman. But other than that, Myers, Hamonic, I don't know, right? But let me know what you guys think down below. So now the defensive depth. Let's get into that because there's, like the forwards, there's a decent amount of guys they signed this summer that are probably thinking in training camp, I could probably make that blue line. I could make it in the depth chart high enough where I could be playing in Vancouver consistently. Some of those names, you've got Madison Bowie, Brady Keeper, who was most recently with the Los Angeles Kings, Jet Wu, who we've been talking a lot about but really haven't seen much of yet, Brad Hunt, a big defenseman. I believe he played last with the Oilers. I think he went overseas and has come back. So again, adding a little bit of size and grit to that blue line does Brad Hunt. Olli Juolevi. We've been waiting to see when Juolevi becomes this great defenseman. It just hasn't happened. Again, a top 10 draft pick. That's kind of one of the holes in the lineup is because Juolevi hasn't developed. They've had to overcompensate and bring in a guy like Ekman Larson. Again, I think that is part of it. And again, Jim Benning, who has been a very good drafter, that is, maybe one of his weaker picks in his tenure with the Canucks. And then you also have Luke Shen, who just won some cups in Tampa Bay. So he was in Vancouver before he went to Tampa. I remember he spent, I think, from the trade deadline to the end of the year, he was in Vancouver at some point. I think he liked his time in BC and said, hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind going back there. And they're putting some pretty good stuff together. They've got Ekman Larson, Garland, a rejuvenated Pedersen and Hughes, and a very ferocious Beau Horvath. They've got pretty good goaltending, which I'll go over in a second. So, again, the Canucks made themselves enough of a destination this year where they could bring back Hamonic. They could bring in Tucker Pullman. They could bring in guys that maybe you wouldn't have expected them to. Jason Dickinson, another example. So, I think there is some excitement for the Canucks this year. They think they could do something special. And we've talked about this before. I'm not going to get on the hype train yet because I thought the Canucks would win the North Division last year. And they did not. They weren't really even close. They missed the playoffs last year. So Can they get back to that success they had in 2020? Because in the bubble, like you guys remember, I'm sure a lot of you Canucks fans remember, there were some expectations. All right, we're growing. All right, let's get into the first round. Oh, okay. We won the qualifying round, the wild card round. Okay, we go to the first round. We won again. Oh, okay. All right. Canucks fans are getting a little excited here. Second round. We won the second round? Oh, damn. The Canucks are for real. And then we get to the third round, the conference finals. And they almost beat the Dallas Stars. And they might have had a chance at the Cup against Tampa. Which, again, probably wouldn't have gone that well. But still, I think the Canucks have potential there. A lot of that core is still there. The only guys they've really lost in that time are, I mean, they were already turning over. They were already, the Sedin brothers were gone. Burroughs was gone. Edler has left. The Rosells, Beagles, Louis Erickson's, how much did they really help in that run? So this Canucks team, listen, if they play their cards right, the Canucks could be right back there. And you look at their goaltending, got Thatcher Demko, Yaroslav Halak. I do like that. And again, at some point, we'll probably see Mikey DiPietro. He'll probably start off in Abbotsford this year. Probably play another season in Abbotsford until they figure out everything. That's why Halak came in. It's just kind of a stopgap for him. But this is Thatcher Demko's team in between the pipes, and they're really expecting him to do what he did in that bubble in 2020. And I think the Canucks can do that. And I think you look at the Pacific Division in particular, there's more optimism in that division. I mean, really, other than, again, you could probably argue Vegas and Edmonton, but everything else, it's the Wild West, literally, in that Pacific Division. I think, the Coyotes leaving and the Seattle Kraken coming in probably made that division maybe a little tougher, depending on how Seattle looks this year. But I'm very interested to see what you guys think of the Canucks. A couple questions for you guys. What about Olli Juolevi? Do you think he makes the opening night roster? And two, do you think we're going to see Vasily Podkolzin not only in the top 6, but is he going to be in the lineup in general on opening night for your Vancouver Canucks? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more videos just like this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, make sure to check out our Streamlabs shop down in the description down below as well. You can help support the channel and maybe pick up some Goal Line Hockey swag along the way. So that would be very much appreciated if you went to just check it out. And that's it for today, guys. We're continuing this lineup prediction series. We're kind of grinding our way to the end. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. So with that said, thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time.